Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Elisa Ruffin with Leading Educators, and you are on the Grade 11 ELA Unit 6 lesson video series. And today we are starting on Week 6, Lesson 29. Let's do a brief recap of what you've accomplished so far this week. So you have done a first read in 2 parts for day 1 and 2, a close read in 2 parts on days 3 and 4. And now we've arrived to day 5, where you're going to start your analysis of the story by doing a skimming, responding to questions, and making some modern day connections between the text and some additional stories that you are familiar with. Before we jump in though, let us make sure that you are remembering when you are finished with the lesson activities, that you're sharing your learning with a family member, caregiver, or friend, you're completing the weekly fluency activity using a page from the text, and doing at least 20 minutes of additional reading of a text of your choice. Now, you know what's coming next. It's our Rebus puzzle as a part of our riddle of the day. And it is our final Rebus puzzle for this week. So I hope that you're ready. And I hope this one is challenging and fun for you to decode. Again, now's the time where you gather those individuals around you who may have been a part of this activity every day. Or if this is something you like to tackle individually, that you're clearing your mind and preparing to do some really good critical thinking. Fun too. Are you ready? Because here it comes. Take a moment and take it in. Observe everything about it. And this is the part where if you want some additional time to really unpack it, press pause, because I'm going to reveal the answer. Once in a blue moon. Once in a blue moon. Now, if you take a look at it, you're like, where in the world did that come from? If you look in the middle of the word, you'll see the word once. And if you were to take the word once out and put the remaining letters back together, you'd see the word moon remaining and that it's blue. So the word once is inside a blue moon. And that's a common phrase that people use. So that one I think was a little bit trickier than the ones that we've done this week. We're kind of building to something a little bit more challenging. I really hope you enjoyed this series of Rebus puzzles and that it's continued to unlock your brain and warm it up to do some decoding as you continue to read the text. Now that we're all warmed up, let's make sure we have our materials for today. You need the Telltale Heart text, your learning packet, Week 6, Lesson 29 note catcher, pen or pencil, and an optional mobile device for accessing the text digitally. Overview of the background. Again, the Telltale Heart is written by Edgar Allan Poe, a well-known short story author focused on Gothic literature and psychological thrillers. You've got to experience one firsthand over the past few days. And we're still focused on the unit essential question, what do stories reveal about the human condition? And wrestling with the question, specifically for this text, what sinister parts of the human condition does the Telltale Heart reveal? Today's learning targets. I can evaluate the thoughts, feelings, and actions of the characters in the story, and I can connect the plot and theme of the story to the essential question and theme of the unit. So we're transitioning now into analysis and starting to put those pieces together to really come to a conclusion regarding the overall meaning of the text. We are going to continue doing our read, think, talk, write, close routine, and you are going to read through the text again, skimming this time. And you're going to think about that guiding question today. What sinister parts of the human condition does the Telltale Heart reflect? And you're going to take that question and talk about it with your family member, friend, or caregiver. Now that they've read a summary from the previous lesson, you've talked about alternate outcomes, they should be prepared also to discuss these ideas of the sinister parts of the human condition the Telltale Heart reveals. I'm going to walk you through how to think about that and some things that you could potentially talk about and then eventually write about today. So you're going to provide 3 examples from the text to support your answer to the question from the think and talk sections today. And then finally, in closing, you're going to consider what elements from Poe's story you've seen reflected in modern crime and suspense stories, either in print or movies. You're going to include specific examples from the Telltale Heart in your comparison. So that should be fun. That's the modern element. We are going to walk through a quick model of how to approach all of the sections today. Each one of these sections builds on the next, so we're not going to pause because the continuity is actually going to help you, maximizing on the building of momentum. So let's start first with the think and talk, which is actually the same question. So once I get you going, thinking in the right direction, you're going to be ready to talk about the topic as well. So revisiting the question, what sinister parts of the human condition does the telltale heart reflect? Emphasis on the word sinister. And I feel like we've said the word sinister many times over the past few days. And now it's time to really get to brass tacks. What does sinister mean? The overall implications of the word sinister or definition is it refers to something that's evil or poses a threat to do harm. All right. So what evil or harmful parts, if I were to insert the definition instead of the term, of the human condition does the telltale heart reflect? You see how inserting that definition in place of the word all of a sudden illuminates what the question is asking you to do and makes it easier to address, right? So hold on to that definition, plug it into the question, and it's going to put you in the right direction for how to answer that. The next step is that you need to connect your understanding of that definition to both terms, right? So you now understand what the word sinister means. Don't lose what the human condition refers to. And we've defined that several times. Remember, the human condition refers to thoughts, feelings, actions, or experiences that humans share and have in common. So you're going to put those two definitions together, and now you know how you're supposed to address the question. And then in your right section, once you've formulated an answer, you're going to make sure that you provide 3 specific examples from the text that support that answer, and make sure that you include the page and paragraph numbers as well. So that's the think, talk, write. Now we're going to move on to the close. What elements from Poe's story do you see reflected in modern crime and suspense stories, either in print or in movies? Include specific examples from the telltale heart in your comparison. So some things to focus on and to keep in mind as you're responding. Think elements of plot, right? So when I say elements, you can also insert the word characteristics, etc. So elements of plot, if you don't recall, they're the characters, tone, stages, plot development, all of those things, rising action, falling action, conflict resolution. Those are the elements, the essence of plot, how short stories are structured. So what types of elements of short story do you see in Poe, specifically related to crime and suspense, that you may have also seen and observed in crime stories that you either think about through television, movies, or in print, right? There are some things in common. There are these classic storylines and plot lines as it relates to suspense and crime that often began during the time that Poe is writing. And he's one of those people that kind of pioneered some of those ideas. And so you may see some of those same elements present in movies or books that you read today. So thinking that through, you need to make sure that you start by revisiting your answer to the reflection question about suspense from the previous lesson. So even if you get, tripped up in the beginning about, okay, elements of plot, so on and so forth, that's a little complicated. Let's just start with the idea of suspense, right? So we will start there, suspense being an element, right? And we know that we've unpacked suspense. And remember I talked about how suspense is that intersection of, I don't know if I want to know what's going to happen next, but I kind of want to know what's happening next, right? So you're on the edge of your seat, and there's also this anxiety, right? And so remember I told you I want you to think through how the author was able to do that and hold on to it. Now is the time to revisit it. So go back to your annotations about suspense and your reflections related to suspense. And as you think about those elements that you pointed out, helped build that suspense, see if those same elements are a part of modern crime and suspense stories that you've either watched or read recently. And that's how you make the comparison. So that's another way at coming at the question. So I need to think about the current story, movie, or print that is considered suspenseful to see what it has in common, right? So again, we're doing a comparing here. Commonalities, we don't need to contrast because, like I said before, there's some common elements of suspense and crime stories that find its roots in short story authors like Poe and made their way all the way to the present. So we're trying to make those connections and see how those themes and strategies even the authors use have persisted through time. Now that I've modeled how to approach those activities, it is your turn to do the read, think, talk, write, and close for today independently. I know that you are more than prepared to do so. If you have any questions, remember that you can pause the video and replay it as many times as necessary. So if there are times that you need to pause and then complete a section and come back, you are more than welcome to do that. But keep in mind that you should complete this particular lesson activities in sequential order, because one activity definitely builds upon the next, and it will set you up for making sure that the next activity you do accurately and well, right? If you have any questions outside of the video, you can also email your teacher for additional support using the information provided. And finally, when you knock all of those activities out of the park, as I know you will, you're going to make sure that you share your learning with a family member, caregiver, or friend so they can rejoice with you. You're going to complete the weekly fluency activity using a page from the text and do at least 20 minutes of additional reading from a text of your choice. You have come to the end of another week's worth of lessons and activities, and you have earned yourself a break. So once you've done the lesson activities and the additional activities, pat yourself on the back, take a moment or few to rest, and I will see you back again so we can continue to unpack and analyze the Telltale Heart. Good luck, ladies and gentlemen.